Good evening, everyone. Success. It's a word we all chase, isn't it? It's the shining beacon at the end of a long road, the thing we're told to strive for. We put it on a pedestal, hang it on walls, write it on vision boards, and turn it into hashtags. You see, success is rarely, if ever, free. And the price we pay often isn't money, it's something much deeper, much harder to measure, and ironically, sometimes the very thing we hoped success would give us. Success is a word that resonates with everyone, but its pursuit comes with a price often overlooked. Time. Time is the one resource we all have, and it's irreplaceable. Unlike money, fame, or other assets, time is finite and non-renewable. Every decision to chase a goal, take on a project, or push for achievement is a decision to spend time. And every moment spent is gone forever. This reality underlines why time is such an essential, hidden cost in the pursuit of success. When we set ambitious goals and commit ourselves to achieving them, it often requires significant amounts of time to plan, execute, and refine our efforts. Hours turn into days, and days turn into months as we pour our energy into the work, believing that the result will make the sacrifices worthwhile. However, we rarely stop to take stock of what we're exchanging in this equation. Whether it's missing out on family dinners, skipping birthdays, or not being present for everyday moments, time is quietly slipping through our fingers. For many, success seems to demand this sacrifice. Professional achievements often require staying late in the office, working weekends, or taking on extra responsibilities to stand out in the eyes of peers or superiors. Entrepreneurs, creatives, and innovators experience the same relentless pull toward investing every spare moment into their craft. The justification is always the same: I'll make it worth it later. The assumption is that once success is achieved, time will somehow become abundant. But the truth is rarely that simple. By the time we've reached one milestone, another is already demanding our attention. The cycle continues, and the time spent isn't something we can reclaim. What makes this even more complicated is how society praises those who sacrifice time for their goals. There's admiration for the late-night coder who pulls consecutive all-nighters, the executive who stays in the office long after everyone else has left, and the athlete who skips holidays with family to keep training. Hard work and commitment are worth celebrating, of course, but we often romanticize this hustle to the point where sacrificing time seems not just necessary, but noble. We've created a culture where busy has become a badge of honor, equating busyness with worthiness. But what we don't talk about enough is the toll this takes on us and those around us. The very choice to dedicate time to a goal comes at the cost of spending that time elsewhere. For example, focusing intensely on work might mean losing precious moments with loved ones. Children grow up, parents grow older, and friends drift apart. The relationships we hold most dear often take a back seat when we're caught up in the drive for success. And it's not just about relationships with others. Our relationship with ourselves can suffer too. Taking time for hobbies, self-care, or simply enjoying life becomes a luxury we no longer afford ourselves. We say, I'll make time for that later. But later has a way of never arriving. The concept of opportunity cost underscores this dilemma. Every minute spent on one pursuit is a minute we could have used differently. This isn't to say that dedicating time to work or ambition is inherently wrong. In fact, meaningful goals deserve our time. But without careful thought and balance, we risk spending our time in ways that don't align with our true values or bring us genuine fulfillment. How often do we find ourselves chasing goals that society deems important, or losing sight of the things that make our own lives rich and rewarding? It's an unsettling realization, but it's a common one. And as time slips by, the unnoticed cost often only becomes clear in hindsight. It might be the regret of missing milestones with family, or the realization that you haven't laughed with friends in months. Some discover the cost through burnout, where the relentless investment of time into work depletes emotional and physical reserves, leaving them unable to enjoy the very success they've achieved. Others may reach a moment of accomplishment, look around, and find that the people they wanted to celebrate with aren't there simply because the connections were neglected along the way. Yet, for all the sacrifices time demands, success isn't guaranteed to deliver the happiness or fulfillment we might expect. If the destination doesn't bring the joy we anticipated, then the trade-off can feel especially bitter. This is why it's so important to critically evaluate what success means to us, and whether the time we're spending is taking us closer to that vision, or simply consuming our days in pursuit of something elusive. The pursuit of success often comes with relentless demands, and one of the most overlooked sacrifices is health. In a world that glorifies hustle and grind, our physical and mental well-being is frequently compromised, sometimes without us even realizing it. The constant pressure to achieve, to exceed expectations, and to maintain momentum can take an insidious toll on the body and mind, turning what seems like a productive pursuit into a long-term liability. To achieve any level of success, people are told they must push past limits. Late nights spent poring over work, early mornings dedicated to gaining an edge, and cramming every moment with tasks create a rhythm that over time becomes unsustainable. Sacrifices are made in sleep, nutrition, and overall self-care because the narrative insists these are the costs of ambition. I'll rest later. We tell ourselves, pushing through fatigue to meet the next deadline, secure the next promotion, or achieve the next goal. But the human body doesn't operate on the same timeline as our ambitions. It cannot delay its need for rest, nourishment, and balance without consequence. Sleep, for instance, is one of the first things sacrificed in the pursuit of success. The myth of the overachiever, who gets by on just a few hours of sleep, is deeply ingrained in society. We celebrate the entrepreneur who burns the midnight oil, or the student who pulls all-nighters. Yet studies continually show that sleep deprivation affects cognitive function, decision-making, and long-term health. Chronic lack of sleep has been linked to heart disease, weakened immunity, and mental health disorders like anxiety and depression. Despite the mounting evidence, the cultural messaging remains that sleep is secondary to success, leading many to prioritize work over their body's basic needs. Similarly, nutrition is often overlooked as schedules become more demanding. The push for productivity leaves little time for preparing healthy meals or even sitting down to eat mindfully. Fast food, meal replacements, and snacks consumed on the go become staples, not because people don't know better, but because there's a belief that time spent eating well could be better spent elsewhere. Over time, poor dietary habits contribute to serious health issues like obesity, diabetes, and heart conditions, all of which silently undermine the foundation of one's ability to achieve and sustain success. Beyond the physical, the mental toll of prioritizing work over health is profound. High levels of stress and constant mental stimulation lead to burnout, a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Burnout doesn't just result in reduced productivity, it can also leave people feeling detached, unmotivated, and empty, questioning the very goals they work so hard to achieve. Unfortunately, the warning signs of burnout, irritability, lack of focus, chronic fatigue, are often ignored in the early stages because they're perceived as temporary side effects of hard work. Stress itself is a double-edged sword in the pursuit of success. While some level of stress can be motivating, chronic stress wreaks havoc on the body. It increases cortisol levels, which can lead to weight gain, hypertension, and impaired immune function. The longer someone operates in this state of heightened stress, the greater the toll on their overall health. The pursuit of success may provide fleeting moments of satisfaction, but it also leaves a lasting impact on the mind and body when health is consistently deprioritized. Exercise is another aspect of health that is often sacrificed during the quest for success. As schedules become more packed, workouts are often seen as expendable. But physical activity isn't just about staying fit, it's also vital for mental well-being, helping to reduce stress, improve mood, and enhance focus. People who neglect exercise in favor of extra hours of work may initially see short-term gains in productivity, but the long-term effects of a sedentary lifestyle catch up quickly, impacting energy levels, overall vitality, and life expectancy. Adding to the complexity is the cultural glorification of working through pain, discomfort, and even illness. Many professionals take pride in showing up to work despite being unwell, viewing it as a badge of honor or a mark of dedication. But ignoring physical ailments only delays the recovery process and in some cases exacerbates the condition. The normalization of powering through signals to others that it's acceptable, even expected, to put health on the back burner for the sake of success. Mental health suffers too as success becomes all-encompassing. The stigma surrounding mental health challenges often prevents individuals from seeking the help they need. Fear of being perceived as weak or incapable keeps many people trapped in a cycle of stress and anxiety, convinced that asking for support would tarnish their image. Instead, they press forward, hoping the pressure will subside once a milestone is achieved. But each milestone often brings new challenges, perpetuating the cycle and deepening the mental health toll. What's particularly tragic about sacrificing health in the name of success is that it undermines the very pursuit of success itself. A tired, unhealthy body cannot sustain the levels of energy, focus, and resilience required to meet ambitious goals. Achievements lose their luster when enjoyed through the lens of fatigue, chronic pain, or emotional distress. And yet, these sacrifices persist because they're rarely recognized in the moment for what they are, a hidden cost with lasting implications. The pursuit of success, while celebrated and admired, often exacts a toll on the relationships that define our lives. In the relentless drive to achieve, relationships with family, friends, colleagues, and even ourselves are frequently placed on the back burner. The cost of this sacrifice may not be immediately visible, but over time, the absence of meaningful connections becomes a void that success alone cannot fill. Relationships, the cornerstone of human experience, are fragile and require consistent attention and effort to thrive. Yet, in the chase for achievement, they are too often neglected. The pursuit of ambitious goals demands focus, time, and energy, all of which are finite resources. In the decision to dedicate these resources to career growth, personal projects, or entrepreneurial ventures, something else inevitably takes a hit. This often manifests in how we show up, or fail to show up, for the people in our lives. Invitations to gatherings are declined with the promise of catching up later. And conversations are cut short because there's always one more email to send or one more task to complete. Over time, this pattern becomes the norm, and without realizing it, relationships begin to erode. The reality is that relationships don't fade overnight. They wither gradually, quietly, and almost imperceptibly. A missed family dinner becomes a missed birthday, and soon the small rituals that bond people together are replaced by the solitary routines of work and ambition. While success might bring accolades and milestones, it doesn't provide the laughter at the dinner table, the shared experiences on a weekend, or the comforting presence of a friend during difficult times. The moments that make life rich are often pushed aside in favor of moments that look impressive on a resume or in the eyes of others. In the process of prioritizing success over relationships, an unintended distance often forms between people. Loved ones who may initially support and admire your drive can begin to feel like bystanders in your life. They might still cheer you on from the sidelines, but their involvement becomes more passive as you immerse yourself in your pursuits. Over time, this creates a disconnect, an emotional gap that's difficult to bridge once it has widened. The people we care about start to wonder where they fit in our lives when every interaction feels rushed or secondary to the pursuit of our goals. The dynamic is further complicated by society's glorification of individual achievement. The narrative often frames success as a solitary endeavor, one that requires independence and self-reliance above all else. While this perspective may inspire some to push harder, it also isolates them from others. The belief that I have to do this alone not only puts immense pressure on the individual, but also subtly communicates to others that their support is unnecessary. Relationships, however, thrive on mutual dependence and collaboration. When we shut others out, we risk losing the depth and richness that come from shared struggles and victories. One of the most painful aspects of neglecting relationships is the realization that time and opportunity to nurture them are finite. Parents grow older, children experience milestones, and friends move on to new chapters in their lives. These moments cannot be revisited or recreated. The relationships left untended often become a source of regret when we finally pause to take stock. The traditional definition of romantic relationships is that they will suffer from the same ill-omened passions, which is why it properly means to grow, to house. Success may deliver tangible rewards, but it cannot rewind time or mend bonds that have been weakened through neglect. It's not just relationships with others that suffer, our relationship with ourselves can be equally strained. When we pour everything into external achievements, we sometimes lose touch with who we are and what we genuinely value. The constant focus on achieving the next goal or maintaining the image of success leaves little room for introspection or self-compassion. Over time, this disconnect can lead to feelings of isolation, even if surrounded by people who admire our accomplishments. Neglecting relationships in favor of success can also impact our well-being in ways we don't anticipate. Human beings are social creatures, wired for connection. Healthy relationships provide emotional support, reduce stress, and contribute to overall happiness. Without these bonds, even the most successful individuals can feel an emptiness that no professional achievement can fill. Loneliness, despite being increasingly common in modern society, is rarely discussed in the context of success, yet it is a reality for many who have prioritized their work over their personal life. This is not to suggest that the pursuit of success is inherently wrong or that ambition should be stifled. Goals, achievements, and personal growth are important and fulfilling aspects of life. But when these pursuits come at the cost of meaningful relationships, the balance is lost. The richness of life is not found in titles or trophies. It's found in the connections we build with others, the love we share, and the time we spend together. Without these, success often feels hollow, a facade that hides what's missing beneath the surface. Relationships, once strained, cannot always be repaired, and their absence leaves a void that no amount of success can truly fill. So, society has long glorified the pursuit of success, portraying it as a journey filled with necessary sacrifices and justifying nearly any cost in its name. This cultural narrative tells us that the long hours, sleepless nights, relentless stress, and missed moments are all part of a formula for greatness. The more we endure, the closer we come to the success that promises to validate all our efforts. We've woven a story in which struggle is noble, sacrifice is a badge of honor, and the measure of a person's worth is tied to their accomplishments. This belief system drives countless individuals to push past their limits without pause, convinced that the cost will all be worth it in the end. But rarely do we question whether the price society insists we pay for success aligns with what truly matters to us as individuals. From an early age, many of us are taught that success looks a certain way. It's the prestigious job, the enviable salary, the impressive title, the accolades, and the outward symbols that reflect achievement. Society paints these markers as the ultimate goals, and those who attain them are held up as examples of what others should aspire to become. Stories of entrepreneurs who turn failures into billion-dollar companies, or athletes who train through injury to claim victory, are elevated and repeated as the gold standard of perseverance. In these stories, the sacrifices, health, relationships, mental well-being are presented as unavoidable stepping stones to greatness. The underlying message is clear. If you want success, you must be willing to pay the price. And not paying that price is seen as a sign of laziness or lack of ambition. This messaging is so pervasive that we internalize it without realizing it. We tell ourselves that if we're not working around the clock or pushing beyond exhaustion, then we're not doing enough. We compare our progress to others who seem to have everything figured out, adding another layer of pressure to our already heavy load. Social media amplifies this by showing us curated highlights of other people's successes without the struggles that came with them, making it easy to feel like we're falling behind if we're not giving every waking moment to the pursuit of our goals. What society often ignores, however, is the damage caused by glorifying this version of success. When we define success solely in terms of external achievements, we disconnect from the internal measures of fulfillment, meaning, and joy. We sacrifice moments of presence and connection in the name of chasing something that might not even bring the satisfaction we're hoping for. The societal script tells us that the end goal will make it all worthwhile. But what happens if it doesn't? What if the ladder we've been climbing leads us to a view we don't actually care for? The tragedy lies in the fact that by the time many of us reach that realization, the costs we've paid along the way, time with loved ones, our health, and our peace of mind, cannot be recovered. The glorification of struggle also dismisses the idea that success can be achieved through balance, joy, or collaboration. Instead, it reinforces the notion that the process must be isolating, grueling, and solitary. Those who seek a more sustainable or human-centered path are often dismissed as unambitious or unrealistic. Yet, what this narrative fails to acknowledge is that success achieved at the expense of everything else is a hollow victory. If you approach your goal from the right perspective, everything else will fall into place naturally. Society rarely highlights the burnout, disconnection, and loneliness experienced by many who buy into the idealized version of success. Another hidden danger of this narrative is how it perpetuates inequities. The societal expectation that everyone must be willing to pay steep costs to succeed ignores the fact that not everyone starts from the same place. Those with fewer resources, less access to opportunities, or additional responsibilities, such as caregiving, are often unable to meet these expectations. Yet they are judged by the same standards, as if the playing field is level. This one-size-fits-all definition of success penalizes those who are already disadvantaged, while rewarding those who have the privilege and capacity to conform to its demands. Even as society glorifies the sacrifices tied to success, it provides few tools for navigating the consequences. Discussions about burnout, mental health challenges, and strained relationships are becoming more common, but they are still largely treated as individual issues rather than systemic byproducts of a flawed definition of success. The culture that celebrates overworking rarely offers support to those who fall apart under its weight. Instead, individuals are left to pick up the pieces on their own, often with little acknowledgement of the conditions that contributed to their struggles in the first place. What makes this all the more ironic is that true success, in its most authentic form, is rarely about external accolades alone. When people are asked to reflect on what brings them meaning and fulfillment, the answers almost always center around relationships, health, personal growth, and a sense of purpose. These are the very things that society's definition of success often asks us to sacrifice. We are pushed to give up the things that make life worth living in exchange for a narrow, superficial version of accomplishment. The concept of success is not a universal truth. It is subjective, constantly evolving, and shaped by personal values and aspirations. Yet many individuals continue to fall victim to a narrow, commonly accepted version of success, defined by tangible achievements such as wealth, prestige, or career progression. This standardized measure often blinds us to the deeper, more meaningful aspects of life, leading people to pursue external accomplishments at the expense of inner fulfillment. And as a result, people frequently ignore what truly brings them joy, health, and happiness in favor of an elusive prize that only momentarily satisfies. Success, as typically defined by society, is often external and measurable. It's reflected in the number of zeros on a paycheck, the recognition of peers, or the speed at which goals are achieved. These are accomplishments that others can see, admire, and validate. They're the landmarks we chase because they signal achievement to the world, offering a sense of status and belonging. Yet the deeper question remains, how many people feel truly fulfilled once they reach these markers? How often do we hear stories of individuals who attain their dream job, financial stability, or social position, only to find that what they expected to be the pinnacle of success feels anticlimactic, or worse, unfulfilling? The problem lies in the fact that society has deeply ingrained in us the notion that this type of success equals happiness. We're conditioned to believe that these outward measures are sufficient, and that once we achieve them, everything else will fall into place. But the reality is that while wealth, prestige, and other external forms of success provide a sense of security, they do not guarantee contentment. So they don't provide a consistent sense of purpose or emotional fulfillment, and they don't offer the type of happiness that lasts. The constant quest for more leaves many feeling unbalanced and disconnected from what they truly value. People might secure promotions, build businesses, or become leaders in their industries, only to feel a gap between their outer success and inner satisfaction. In addition to missing the deeper layers of joy, the traditional view of success can blind us to other paths that might lead to fulfillment, paths that prioritize our personal well-being, health, and sense of connection. When work or achievements consume the majority of our time and energy, there is little left for other essential aspects of life, such as taking care of our physical and mental health, or nurturing relationships with family and friends. We sacrifice what is meaningful in the present in the hopes that someday, when success is finally attained, we will have time for joy and balance. But often, by the time success comes, other parts of life have slipped away, leaving us to confront the unintended consequences of a singular pursuit. The quest for external validation does not foster the self-awareness or self-compassion that are necessary for a fulfilling life. By measuring our worth based on how much we achieve or the status we attain, we diminish the value of intrinsic joys, such as personal growth, creativity, quiet moments of connection, and peace of mind. People spend years working towards a version of success dictated by societal expectations, but discover too late that personal peace, deep emotional connections, or the satisfaction of living in alignment with their values were more fulfilling all along. This version of success creates a cycle that feeds itself. Once we achieve one goal, we are pushed to set the next, higher goal in its place. Society applauds this relentless upward trajectory, but few stop to ask, what happens when one achievement fades into another, and the sense of accomplishment is fleeting, even momentary. There is little space in this equation for the appreciation of simple joys. Taking time to breathe, acknowledging the quiet triumphs in day-to-day life, and nurturing relationships with those who matter most. These things, though essential for overall well-being, often seem less important in a world that constantly elevates more, faster, and better. As people climb the ladder of externally defined success, they become less attuned to the rhythms of their own heart. They focus so much on accumulating achievements and accolades that they lose sight of what might be truly worth pursuing, what truly makes life worth living. Sometimes it isn't about the career advancement or the larger home or the more extravagant vacation. Rather, the things that might bring enduring contentment are often quieter: being present in family moments, enjoying a deep and supportive relationship, growing as a person, cultivating hobbies or passions for their own sake, or creating space to rest and recharge. And so, redefining success means expanding its boundaries and questioning its traditional form. It means stepping away from the noise and realizing that what fills one person with joy and meaning might differ entirely from what fills someone else. By giving ourselves permission to create our own measure of success, we break free from societal norms and stop tying our worth to external validation. Instead, we focus on the things that cultivate well-being, the things that truly add richness to our lives, not the fleeting comforts that come with status, recognition, or material wealth. True success comes not from what we achieve in comparison to others, but from aligning our actions with our values and aspirations, cultivating personal growth, and seeking happiness in all of its forms. End of chapter 23. Recording by Brandon Harris, 2022. The idea that success can be attained at the cost of personal well-being creates a dangerous dynamic in which individuals forsake their sense of self in order to meet external expectations. As people chase after status, validation, and financial gain, they often lose touch with what truly matters to them on a deeper level. The concept of sacrifice becomes a trap, one that convinces people that to truly make it, something personal, something essential must be relinquished. Yet, what many don't realize is that the deeper price of these sacrifices isn't always visible in the immediate moment. It emerges slowly, over time, often manifesting as feelings of emptiness or alienation. People who define their worth through their ability to succeed often find themselves in a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction, driven by a need to meet increasingly high standards set by society, peers, or even themselves. The cost of this success is measured in small but accumulating ways: missed family gatherings, years of stress, isolation from friends, emotional exhaustion, and a lack of fulfillment in everyday life. In the relentless pursuit of career or financial milestones, individuals may subconsciously erase or dismiss the smaller, quieter elements of life that make it meaningful, the soft moments of connection, the sense of inner peace, and the joy that comes with simplicity. This is why hiking, for example, identifies a positive experience, in addition to all the other good things hiking can offer us, like greater connection with nature, better health and physical and mental health. One of the key dangers of living in a success-driven culture is that it leads people to overlook the value of emotional well-being. As people push forward, achieving goal after goal, they rarely stop to check in with themselves and assess how they are truly feeling. The external milestones are celebrated, but the internal toll they take often goes unnoticed. Mental and emotional fatigue slowly build up, masked by the momentum of success. Anxiety, depression, and burnout are often overlooked or mistaken for mere obstacles to overcome on the way to achieving greater things. Many view personal struggles as signs of weakness, failing to understand that neglecting mental health and emotional balance is just as dangerous, if not more so, than neglecting physical health. At the same time, the world continues to pressure individuals to uphold an image of constant success. This pressure comes from all directions: social media, workplace culture, the expectations of family and friends, and it shapes how people perceive themselves and their worth. On platforms that reward images of success, people may feel compelled to maintain a facade, constantly curating their lives to fit into a predefined version of success. The reality, however, is that success, as it's commonly defined, does not align with the full complexity of human experiences. There is no place for the moments of struggle, vulnerability, or failure that are inherent to every journey. Instead, society paints success as a linear path to be followed, with setbacks and flaws to be hidden away. The hidden cost of success also extends to the world around individual, their families, communities, and support systems. While the individual may succeed in their pursuit, the relationships that offer support through the highs and lows can deteriorate in the process. Emotional neglect of others becomes an unconscious consequence as people immerse themselves more and more in their work or career aspirations. The very relationships that nurture and sustain a person, the spouse, children, friends, are the same relationships that over time may feel the strain of constant neglect. Over time, these misconnections can erode the foundation on which personal success is built. This widening gap between work and personal life creates a paradox. The individual works tirelessly to achieve career success or financial freedom, but in doing so, they isolate themselves from the very relationships that can provide fulfillment. A career, no matter how successful, is rarely a substitute for love, care, and connection, and yet these emotional, interpersonal experiences often fall by the wayside in the name of progress. What good is a title, a salary, or public recognition if those achievements are met with loneliness and disconnection? Moreover, the pursuit of success sometimes leads individuals to silence their own desires or sense of purpose in favor of external achievements. People become so focused on pursuing what is defined for them that they overlook their own passions and creative urges. As they climb the ladder of external success, their own authenticity is traded for an image that matches the expectations placed upon them. No person may feel pressure to conform to the roles they think others want them to play, whether in terms of career, appearance, or behavior, forgetting, sometimes entirely, who they are at their core and what brings them joy on a personal level. So everything from that we talked about before, which is I found this foreshadowing in terms of their personal level. This imbalance between external success and internal well-being is what often leads people to the realization that even if they have achieved all they set out to accomplish, the feeling of contentment they anticipated has not arrived. What people fail to realize is that an excessive focus on external success often sacrifices the very components of life that would provide that deep satisfaction and sense of purpose. Health, relationships, passions, and self-connection. In the endless pursuit of a perceived idea of success, they lose sight of what it means to be whole and well-rounded. What compounds this problem is that society's glorification of sacrifice becomes a barrier to having honest conversations about well-being. There is an assumption that success must come with some level of suffering, and therefore suffering is normalized, even romanticized, as a necessary part of the process. But the truth is, a life filled with sacrifice, void of balance and fulfillment, is a hollow one, regardless of professional accomplishments. Recognizing this dynamic is a critical first step toward understanding that true success should not come at the expense of one's own life. Relationships, health, and inner peace are just as integral to success as career and financial gain. True success integrates these aspects into a holistic approach that values balance, personal growth, and emotional satisfaction just as much as the tangible achievements we tend to prize. So how do we balance it? How do we pursue success without losing what matters most? The answer isn't in some grand sweeping gesture. It's in the little things. It's in saying no to one more meeting so you can have dinner with your family. It's in calling that friend you've been meaning to catch up with. It's in taking a walk, breathing deeply, and reminding yourself why you started in the first place. Success doesn't have to come at the expense of your well-being, your relationships, or your happiness. The hidden cost only becomes inevitable if we refuse to acknowledge it. But when we do, when we confront it, when we balance it, we can redefine success on our own terms. So go after your dreams, reach for the stars, but as you climb, don't forget to look around, because the view is much more beautiful when it's shared.